Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dave Strohmeyer of Saddle Up Shooting, your host. I hope I have a good one for you today because I'm going to be demonstrating an optic that is not your normal optics that I usually do. This one is pretty famous by a lot of people, and Arken Optics reached out to me and asked me if I would like to test and demonstrate this scope free of charge, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. But unlike a normal type of situation, the unboxing is going to be really simple and kind of quick. And then we're going to move on to replacing a scope I really like on my rifle and testing it out in the field. So stick around, folks. I hope you enjoy this format, a little different than what other people do. And I truly want to thank you because they wouldn't have reached out to me if not for you people that watch my video and leave comments and that are excited about 2A type of programming. All right, so come back in a moment. Okay, folks, very impressive box on here. It has a description of everything that has to do with the scope that you'd be interested in right on the box, as well as very detailed instructions. And I won't be going through that with you, but we'll go over the specifications, and occasionally up on the screen here, when I want to focus on something specifically, I'll just give you the stat picture that is provided by Arken, that you can go to their website and see. Also, I want to make it clear that I'm not receiving any kickbacks or any of that kind of stuff. I'm not sponsored by Arken. They sent this scope out to me very nicely, very easily, and I'm going to give it my best to provide that information to you based upon my physical usage on a rifle out in the field. Okay, so very nice box. Very nice. Okay, so let's go through the specifications. I think I'll probably put it here or there, but I'll just go ahead and read it to you. This is the Arken EP-5 Generation 2 7 by 35 by 56. 7 power to 35 power adjustable, 56 millimeter objective lens, 34 millimeter tube. Okay, so, the eye relief is about 3.5 inches according to what they say here. It is a first focal plane scope, and I have it in what they call VPR, and I chose MOA. They give you the choice of 3 different reticles, but I chose the MOA reticle. I know a lot of people would go with Mills or their new Tor type of situation, which gives even more finer, minute 2/10 of a mil type of indentations on the scope for long range shooting. All of you know that I'm not interested in extended long range shooting, but that's what this was designed for. I primarily hunt, and my maximum distance, depending upon the caliber, is 500 yards. I won't take a shot over that distance for fear of wounding the animal or missing. Okay, so it does have a zero stomp. They call it the AZS zero stomp system, and it's already in here. I'll go over that adjustment situation for that because it seems really cool on how to adjust that, because there's just 2 screws to go ahead and adjust your zero stop once you have your scope zeroed. And then if you want to set your cap, which has all these numbers on it, back to 0, then there's 3 screws to take the cap off, locate it to the 0 point, put it back on, and then tighten up the screws and you're done. So it seems like that's a very, very efficient way to do it. And they send you all the tools for that as part of it, including the Torx wrench and the plastic situation to make any adjustments on caps, I believe. Okay, again, this scope is in MOA, so the elevation adjustments goes clear up to 108 adjustments for elevation, and the windage adjustment 54. So that's probably because of the 34 millimeter tube, and because Arken specifically designed it that way to placate the long-range shooter, ELR, those type of competitive sports. I don't know about those things because I'm not a competitor, but I'll certainly get out and test it on my normal range of anywhere between, well, I'll start out at 100 yards and of course move on. But what Arken is pretty famous for, and I'll show you here, is that reticle and the clarity of the glass. It is Japanese engineered EP glass. Now, this is the highest quality that Arken claims of this type of scope type and this price point. Yeah, they don't try to compare it to the German or the Austrian or the European type of scopes. This is an American company started by, as I understand it, an ex-Navy SEAL sniper. They come from, are you ready for this? Missouri City, Texas. All right, they are a stand-alone company. As I understand it now, they are going through a little bit of not restructuring, but remanagement or taken over situation because they've partnered with DNT Optics out of China. DNT is going to focus on primarily the digital nighttime type scopes, the Zulus line, and Arken is going to stay as a standalone Arken, standalone unit, is going to stick with the hunting and competition daytime type of normal optics that we're all used to. All right, so, I don't know what else to say. I have looked through the glass. It's very, very clear. I got no problem with it. You can see that the turrets are quite heavy, quite big, and very big numbers. And that's for a lot of people that would use those turrets based upon their rifle caliber, cartridge combination, the distance that they're wanting to hit their target at. For me, I kind of like this situation for small targets, things like rock chucks or small squirrels, etc., at extended distance. By having this 35 power, it's going to be able to make a small target a little bit closer and a little bit more accessible to shoot at distance. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for. All right, well, they do have a lighted reticle. It is red. It is 16 inches in length, and are you ready for this? It is 42 ounces in weight, so it's pretty beefy. Now, they went ahead and sent me some titanium rings that are matched to this scope. I thought that was pretty nice because they're pretty expensive rings, and they sent them with the scope because I asked. Now, again, all the things that I need are including the battery for the lighted reticle and, bikini scope cover. They also have a sunshade, as you can see here. So the scope is complete, the boxing was complete, everything was pretty nice. So now I'm going to be putting it on my 6mm arc. Now I'm going to be trading off this scope that I've had since I bought this rifle 5 years ago, and this is a Monstrum Tactical scope that has served me well. And if the situation needs to be adjusted, I can always put that scope back on because it served me well. But I want to give Arken, because they were nice enough to send me this product, to go ahead and give it the best situation that I can. And my 6mm arc is pretty accurate, so the accuracy is going to help and display this properly, I suppose. All right, so without any further things to talk about, because there are plenty of Arken Optics scopes on YouTube that you can look up, and it's people that can talk a lot better than I do and have a lot more of the knowledge in terms of the vernacular and words that are necessary for a proper description. I don't have that. You probably appreciate that, and that's why you watch my channel. All right, let's get out, get to shooting and testing this product. Okay, I'm out at the range. I've already bore sighted and got on at 50 yards. Now we moved out to 100. We're going to see what's going to happen with the bullets that I've chose today. I'm going to be shooting 3 Sierra 80 grain Blitz, and I'm going to be shooting 3 of the 75 grain Hornady VMAX. Now the difference between the two is about 150 feet per second. So the 80 grain is right at 3050, and the 75 grain is close to 3200 feet per second. Why did I choose those rounds? Because as I explained, this scope with that high power, this EP-5 Generation 2 that goes clear up to 35 power, would be really good for varmints out at distance, because it's taking a small critter and being able to magnify it through the scope. And we're going to see how it looks on there. Okay, conditions. Alright, you might be able to see it's pretty smoky around here. Oregon is burning up and they send their smoke our way, which will give you a pretty good idea of maybe what it would be like to shoot at dusk. So I'll be able to see what type of light transmission I can get through the scope. The scope, everything is just wonderful. And again, I thank Arken for sending this to me. But let's go ahead and see how it shoots with my first 380 grains. Now I do want to explain something about these 80 grains. The tips are kind of merled up because they didn't load properly in another 6mm arc, and I just need to shoot them up. So I'm not really interested that much in accuracy as much as I am adjustability. So let's see what happens here with the first 3 shots. Eyes in, ears in, get everything correct. Oh man, that 35 power is absolutely wonderful. That center dot in the scope is about the same, a little bit smaller than the center dot on the target, which is 1 inch at 100 yards. That's pretty cool. All right, here we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. 6 arc so far, and that first bullet was one of them with a marled tip. So let's see how the next 2 do. Looks pretty good to me. What do you think, folks? Alright, a little bit of an injection smear on that. Again, that's got nothing to do with the scope, but when you're testing the ammo, you're testing function, you're testing the rifle, you're checking accuracy, and you're checking definitely precision. If it all comes together, hopefully you get a target like that. Alright, 3rd shot with the 80s. See what happens. Pleased. Alright, that looks pretty good. No adjustments needed. Maybe a little bit to the right, but because I shoot 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100, 103, 105, and 108 grain bullets through this rifle for various purposes, I don't change the scope and get it perfect until I go sight in for a specific purpose. Because now we're going to shoot the 75 grain, and you'll probably see what I'm talking about. Be right back. But let's see how these shoot. So you mark those 3. I'm not going to change anything on the scope. The diopter, eye diopter is adjusted. It works great. My parallax adjustment is adjusted. It works great. And the dials, everything turned with a tactile, easy response. And the clarity of the scope is absolutely wonderful. There's zero chromatic aberration even at 35 power. The only thing that is different is when you're adjusting the power level, say from 10 up to 35, is that your eye relief shrinks somewhat. So the position of your cheek on the stock moves a little bit, which that's not a bad thing. You know, people will adjust according to their own style. All right, here we go. Same target. All right, that one further up to the left. Let's see. And that went up also. And that's a little less than a 1-inch grope, you saw it. But that's what I mean about you don't change the scope until you're ready to sight in for whatever purpose that you want. All right, well, I'm going to bring in a bonus here. I'm going to take the target out now, a metal target out at 200 yards, and let's see what happens. Be right back. All right, 80 grains, 2 shots. Hope I hit it. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's try a couple of 75s. I'm gonna do my first adjustment on the scope by taking it down approximately 2 inches. So that's 8 clicks at 100 yards, which would be 4 clicks at 200 yards, correct? Let's go 5 and see what happens. That shot a little left. All right, I held left on that, but again, that's where your indentations on your scope come in handier rather than messing with the dials, is that you can adjust according to your first shot. All right, folks, well, thank you, Arken, for sending me this fantastic scope. Would I buy it? You bet I would, in a heartbeat, especially when it's sub $900 scope. The rings worked out really well, made it, I did take my rifle from an 11-pound rifle up to a 13.5-pound rifle, but who cares? I don't. I mean, the old boys in World War II averaged 155 pounds and they carried around 10-pound M1A, so we need to get tougher, I guess, in this newer generation. All right, if you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up. Please do subscribe. Check your subscriptions, please. Leave a comment, if you will, about the scope, about the rifle, about the ammunition, anything that you want to ask a question or leave a comment on. But no matter what, truly, God bless you all. See you again next time. Goodbye.